All right, welcome everyone. We are here for a really, well, this is a treat. This is a treat because we get to focus on a topic that's just going to benefit all of us in our own journey to metabolic health and metabolic balance. And it's also going to equip us with tools to help other people, whether you're someone that's in the doTERRA business and you want to help your customers, or if you are a product user and you want to help your family or your loved ones have better results, this is going to be really valuable. So I'm Tanya Cottrell, and I am here with Kirk Keller. Kirk, can you give us a wave so they see which square you're in? There you go. Okay, so Kirk Keller is a gold wellness advocate leader on our team at doTERRA, but he has a lot more background and credentials in wellness. And actually, Kirk, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and unmuting before we start, I would love for you to actually give us your background, because I know you have multifaceted areas of expertise. So could you tell us kind of what your background is in running and fitness and health coaching and all of that?
Yeah, your multifaceted reference there is a nice way to say he's an old guy with a lot of experience. So
I wouldn't say old, but he has a lot of experience.
Oh, what a journey. I've always loved the movement and fitness and everything. And yeah, I did a master's of science study, concentration exercise science from Montana State University decades ago. And it's just always been something fascinating to me to see what we can challenge the human body with and how it responds. And just been a lifelong runner, love running the trails here in Southwest Montana and hiking. And my wife and I took about a 2-hour hike yesterday, and I just love to move. So that's a lot of my background. I ran a lot high school and college, and then after college, and I still try to run quite a bit now, although that's shifting a little bit. And my wife and I try and get out on the rivers around here to float and kayak and things. And so the lifestyle that we live, we just love living it. And that's probably one of the things that keeps us going with our physical activity.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And he's being humble because he coaches a lot of people in a lot of ways too, whether it is in their athletics or their exercise. He's also a life coach. So he's really good at bringing the mindset piece in as well in multi areas of life, including being healthy and fit and all of that. So and just to brag on him a little bit, at the doTERRA convention a few weeks ago, he ran in the 5K, which I was still sleeping when that happened. I'm not a 5K runner, but we had a few team members that went and joined that, which was through Healing Hands. It was for humanitarian, benefit. But Kirk placed third amongst everyone in all of doTERRA. And it was a day after his 64th birthday. Sorry, I keep airing your birthday out there. But I got a text message with him, and I should have brought it to put up on the thing. And Corey Lindley, our CEO, Kirk outran him a little bit, and everyone knows Corey's very, very fit and very, very athletic. So that was kind of fun. So we should probably get to it. So Kirk is here to talk to us about it's a part of the lifestyle piece in kind of companionship with our MetaPWR product launch that we're all so excited about. And if you remember the wellness pyramid that doTERRA focuses on, you've got your nutrition, and then you've got your metabolic health and your movement, and moving your body, getting some exercise going. That is a big piece of our total wellness. And we're focusing a lot on that second tier with our metabolic health, but we need to focus on that movement piece, because as you read about MetaPWR and the products that can support you, you're going to see that little phrase, paired with a healthy lifestyle. And so what we eat and what we do with our bodies matters. So I'm going to stop talking, other than just picking Kirk's brain a little bit and asking him some key questions. So Kirk, can you just give us the basics of why the movement step with MetaPWR is so important?
Yeah, great question. And Here's the best reference I can give you. And folks, you are welcome to use this reference because I think it really creates a clear word picture about the complement of lifestyle to the MetaPWR and vice versa. It's like you and I have been given a set of car keys to a sports car. And we've climbed in the driver's seat, we've hit the ignition, the engine's running, we've dropped it into gear. And with the MetaPWR system, our foot is off the brake and now on the accelerator. Without the MetaPWR system, one foot is on the brake and another one's on the accelerator. So there's a difference. In fact, I'm going to quote Dr. Osgothorpe. And by the way, if you have a chance to get into the MetaPWR educational modules that doTERRA is providing, they are fabulous. They're 3, 4, 5 minutes long. And you can go at your own pace and check off. But I was working through the modules myself, and I love this quote and I love this reference. And I think, Tanya, it answers your question. And this is direct from Dr. Osgothorpe. And I quote, "Moderate intensity exercise for just 30 minutes per day provides almost 70% of the benefits you're looking for," end quote. So in other words, if you want to accelerate the impact of your consistency of using the MetaPWR products, add this lifestyle component of movement. And that's, I love his quote, and I can't underscore it any better, Tanya. I'm so thankful doTERRA recognizes this component of this whole MetaPWR system. Right.
Yeah, we don't want to be, the ones out there with the message like just drink this and take this and you're good. It's all encompassing. But what I love is that it's helping people gain the energy they need to actually make those choices. Like taking that foot off the brake is absolutely a great analogy. So tell me, what would you say qualifies as movement? We hear this one. Is this exercise, physical activity? Obviously, we've got people from all walks of life that might look different for people, but how would you categorize that?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to answer your question, but first of all, 1/2 step back, and let's talk about that E word, that exercise. Exercise in our general population carries a lot of, we'll call it baggage, because exercise hasn't in the past been consistent. It's not been fun. You all can fill in the blank. For some reason, exercise has for the majority of people, many of you have probably incorporated it into your lifestyle, but for the most part, it's not a functional part of their lifestyle. And some of that's mindset, some of it's barriers, some of it's real stuff, whether we live in the deep South when the humidity is 99 and the temperature's 99 and nobody wants to go outside. I get that. Sometimes in our northern tiers, it's cold out and it's windy and ice. And so there's a lot of reasons why it's not easy to exercise. But what qualifies for exercise? Let's call it as it is. And we can call it exercise. You can call it physical activity. You can call it movement. And I'm going to use the quote from the American College of Sports Medicine. And really, this is what we're shooting for. This is kind of that gold standard that we would like to get up to with some training. And we'll get there in just a few minutes. But for the adult 18 to 65 plus, moderate intensity, aerobic physical activity, and we'll define that in just a second, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, or vigorous activity, a minimum of 20 minutes per day, 3 times a week, and strength training 2 times a week, or what I like to refer to as resistance training, whatever form it comes in. And by the way, if you have a gym membership and that gym membership produces what we're encouraging you to get to, that's great. For a lot of people, gym memberships don't work, and there's a lot of things you can do at home to provide that strength training or that resistance type training. And again, this is something that we shoot for. I wouldn't encourage somebody, if you're getting from sitting and you have a sedentary job and a sedentary lifestyle and you just need to start, that would be a goal to get to. I would not encourage you to just jump right in. When I'm coaching a runner and they come to me and say, I want to run a marathon, I don't start them off with a 12-mile run or a 15-mile run on that first day of working with them. We work it up. And on that note, what I would encourage you to do is think about your physical activity when we go and exercise and when we burn those calories and when we use that energy, we tear down. And your body is designed to adapt to increasing amounts of physical stress. So what we do is we're up here, we tear down, and then we build back up. And then we tear down again, and then we build back up, and we tear down again, and we build back up. And all of a sudden, that person that I'm training is now all of a sudden running a 12-mile run. And then it's a 16-mile run. And then it's a marathon, and they cross the finish line. But we sure couldn't do that when we start. So I want to encourage you, if you're just starting, start slow and just work your way up.
Okay, well, that was my next question is what is your advice for someone who maybe just currently isn't in movement at all? Like, how do you take that very first step and get started?
Yeah, great question. I appreciate that. And so let's address those that aren't doing anything right now. Number one, congratulations. It's on your radar. And one of my questions would be, if I were working with you, I would say, how important is this on a scale of 1 to 10 for you to incorporate into your life? And if you tell me it's a 10, you're going to start today. If you tell me it's a 5, there's a mix there. So my question back to you is literally, how bad do you want it? Mm-hmm. And that's not a guilt trip. That's not a, wow, you got to do this. And that's your choice. It's intrinsically valued enough for you to take those initial steps. I am a huge fan of walking. We can do it from right off. Most of us can do it right out our front door. We can travel with it. We can adjust schedules with it, and walking is a great form of exercise. We undervalue walking, and we see these runners, we see these, people crossing the starting finish line, and I got to be like them. No. If you just want to get into a walking program, kudos to you. And when I talk about walking, I'm talking about getting your heart rate up into that exercise in that exercise realm. There's a good rule of thumb out there that it's 220 minus your age, and we'll use that. That's slightly archaic, but it's still very valuable. So take the new number 220 minus your age, and then one more factor, 50 to 85% of that number is what we would like to challenge you to get to in that what we'll call that exercise target heart rate. And again, that should culminate then into that 30 minutes, with that 30-minute window when you go out to exercise. So if you're walking, power walk, find some hills. I mean, there's something that you can do to provide a little bit of aerobic resistance that's going to make your heart rate go up. And correspondingly, your respiration rate will go up as well. So we've got to shoot for that target heart rate. Again, if you're starting, that's a target. If you're just starting, I would encourage you to walk maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And then in a couple of days, go up 5 to 6 minutes. A couple of days later, go up 7 to 8 minutes. See what we just did? So in the course of a few days, if you go from nothing, you've already gotten into 20 to 30 minutes of exercise. And again, that is very initial starting. If you can handle more than that, great. And so make the adjustment, because your age, your chronological age, your fitness age, any other underlying health issues, those all come into play, gender, come into play with where you should be relative to that exercise heart rate. So start slow, but be consistent, because there's 3 things that really drive the success of this. Number 1 is motivation. We are all riding the wave of motivation post-convention, which is awesome. Love this MetaPWR, love the message behind it, etc. We've all got a lot of reason to tackle and take advantage of that motivation. From motivation, what I like to encourage people to do is to get into consistency. Consistency is your friend. I tell my runners that all the time. Consistency is your friend. And so consistency over time then will develop a habit. And when you can get to the point where, I missed my workout today, or I missed my walk today, or I missed my strength training today, then you've really arrived, and you don't need a lot of the other encouragements we all rely on to get us out there, to keep us out there, etc. So again, motivation, consistency, and habit. Getting your heart rate up into that exercise heart rate zone 5 days a week, 30 minutes at a time, plus 2 days of strength training.
Okay, I'm going to review this with you a little bit because I'm putting it in the chat. This is such great information, and I know people are trying to catch and get notes. So I started typing it out. I want to make sure I have it right. 220 minus your age for your heart rate. And then that target, that challenge for that target rate, you said 50 to 85% of that number. Was it 80% or 85?
85%.
Okay. So 50 to 85%, is that the increase for your starting place?
That's just a range for you to shoot for to monitor, am I getting out of my aerobic activity what I should?
Okay. All right. I just put that in the chat, everyone, if you're wondering.
And that's a good guide because we can exercise too hard. And that's a myth that we could bust, and we'll probably get into myth bustings in a little bit, but no pain, no gain, get rid of that. That's archaic, that's old. It shouldn't have to hurt, as in injury kind of hurt. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Absolutely, especially if you're adopting a new activity and a new practice and a new challenge, a stress challenge, physical stress challenge to your body.
Okay, and then you mentioned the weekly goal for how many times and how many minutes. Can I get that?
Yeah, you bet. I'll give that to you. Moderate intensity, aerobic physical activity, AKA exercise, 30 minutes, 5 days a week.
30 minutes, 5 days a week.
Or vigorous activity, 20 minutes, 3 times per week. Again, I'm not as big a fan on the vigorous, mostly because that's not going to be a lifetime fit for people.
You said 3 times a week. How many minutes?
Yes, 3 times 20.
20 minutes.
And when we're talking vigorous, we're talking exercise heart rate clear up at the top of your range. And that's why I'm not as big a fan as that is that a lot of people, that's going to be a challenge for them, especially starting out. I like to encourage people to go longer versus trying to pack this in shorter. Okay, so what if I only have time for a 15-minute walk instead of my 30-minute walk? Awesome, go do it. That's better than nothing. And on our schedules, they crimp our schedules and our time for exercise, etc. So get it in and then just try and make up for it later in the week.
So that brings me to my next question, which I think is fascinating. You said, hey, 15-minute walk, that's going to do something good for you, even if it's, a moderate goal. I've been on my own metabolic journey with MetaPWR, and I've also been wearing a blood glucose monitor just because I'm really watching the data and wanting to learn. And the monitor in the app I have is really interesting because when my blood sugar starts to eat a meal and it starts to go up, it'll prompt me and say, get into some movement right now. You can blunt that blood sugar spike. And then it'll say, even a brisk 15-minute walk. And I've tested that, and boy, does it make a difference. So that's my next question is, what's this relationship between blood glucose and movement? Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Oh boy, howdy. And I love this. Here's why is that I did all my master's thesis research in our exercise science lab on exercise and blood sugar.
Oh,
so
wow.
Man, sitting at convention and listening to Dr. O and Dr. Hill and others, I was just like on the edge of my seat. I was going, yeah, this is awesome. Okay, let's back up and let's talk about when we move, we require energy to move. That energy is going to come from one of 3 places or a combination of those places. 1, it can come from our blood sugar. 2, it can come from glycogen stores, which is stored sugar molecules that are ready to go if we call on it. And those are stored in our muscles and in our liver. The 3rd one is from our fats. So a lot of it depends on what intensity of exercise that we're operating at as to where we're going to pull that energy from. So let me give you an example. If you watch the Olympics and let's take a 100-meter sprint, those guys, the professional world elites, they're coming in, under 10 seconds, right around that front. For 6 to 7 seconds, you and I do not need any oxygen to perform. It's called your ATP cycle. I won't go into any more of the science there. But you and I don't need that oxygen. When we move into using oxygen with part of our exercise, we now begin to mix the demands on blood sugars and the glycogen that we have stored. Maybe some of you have seen somebody who, what we call bonked in a race. And what they did is that they blew through their blood sugars and they blew through their glycogen stores, and then that was it. And they were running or training or swimming or biking at such a high intensity that they couldn't use their fat stores. Their fat stores come in whenever we go with a much lower intensity, a slower pace, etc. whenever we've got a fit machine. Case in point, I have a daughter who's gotten into ultra marathoning, ultra trail running, and she has trained her body to get into her fat stores. And so, and that's really where there's so much energy that is being used. So your question then about how it impacts blood sugars is that you can think of it leveling it out. In my research in the lab, what I did was I brought in a bunch of fit college guys. I mean, I bribed them with I don't know, I shouldn't say bribe. That's not research proper, but I don't remember what I offered them, but I brought them into the lab. We exercised to exhaustion. And I had a control and an experiment group. And one group I gave a placebo, one other group I gave a really big sugar spike. And so what happened is that we had this sugar spike, we had this insulin reaction. And let me just give you the difference is that from the control group to the experiment group, we saw a 25% work reduction in their performance whenever they had that blood sugar spike. And what happened is that their body was demanding energy from their blood sugars, but the body couldn't deliver it because there was so much insulin inhibiting those cells to deliver out to their working muscles. So Tanya, and to answer your question is that if you're getting prompts to, yeah, 15-minute would help, is that what's going to happen? You're going to go out and walk. You're going to have a mix of blood sugars and glycogen demand on your system. It's what that's going to do. It's going to level out. And that's one message behind MetaPWR I'm absolutely loving is, and what I'm hearing from people in their testimonials is that instead of their blood sugars doing this, they're doing this. And that spells great success and great forward movement for all of us whenever we get into, mixing blood sugars and exercise, et cetera. Sorry, I probably went a little too deep on the science side of things, but I hope people understand, just where does my energy come from?
Yeah, well, there's a definite connection. I don't know that I fully understand it when I'm doing it, but yeah, it does. It really does help to soften those spikes into low curves. So
and one other thing we know is that if I exercise with super high intensity, there have been some studies that show that it can actually spike some blood sugars. So again, I wouldn't encourage anyone to exercise at that high intensity level until they've gotten a base, an aerobic base, aerobic meaning with oxygen, and that they could go long before they go short intense. Once they can go long, then we can back up and they can periodically add a day or two of maybe some intensity.
It takes some of the pressure off hearing that, it does. It's good. So give us if there's any more myths that you want to bust, because I think we all have these little myths, like the harder, the better, the more intense, the better. What are some of the most common myths when it comes to
exercise is only for athletes? Sorry, it's for everyone. If you want to add movement and that lifestyle component into MetaPWR, if you want to consider yourself an athlete, that's awesome. But it is only reserved for the elite or for no, everyone can get out the front door. They can take those steps literally to incorporate this. And that's really what I'm getting behind with this MetaPWR, is making it a lifestyle. Making it a lifestyle choice. Another myth was, just strength training. I'm going to bulk up if I strength train. Well, if you become a professional bodybuilder, yeah, you will. That's the only way you're going to win a contest. But general strength training isn't going to bulk you up like a bodybuilder will. And even women, don't worry about it. Yeah, and again, if that's a concern, lower weights, more reps, and otherwise run with it. And another myth would be is that it's just too hard. Okay. It is hard. It's not easy. If it were easy, we wouldn't be having this discussion now, would we? So it's a commitment, it's a lifestyle choice, and we're going to, based on our value, we're going to slide it in. We're going to find time for it. We're going to mix and match. We're going to take the kids to the park and find a reason to walk. We're going to find an accountability partner, which, by the way, I strongly recommend. If you said, Kirk, meet me at the corner of 6th and Main tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, we're going to go for a power walk. More than likely, I'm going to be there. Why? This is because I made a commitment to you. And whether you've got an accountability partner right around the corner that you can connect with, that is awesome. If you've got somebody virtually or online or on your team that you would just like to check in with once a week and say, hey, how'd you do? That is awesome. If you've got a group that you want to create, that is fine too, but we all need some accountability. So yeah.
You hear the little life coaching coming in, don't you guys? It's great. And I want a sidebar note here. I know you're all thinking, gosh, if I just had Kirk to coach me through this, to like give me some accountability, give me some support. Remember, when we were promoting this, he is going to give that away for free to one person who listens to this call live or the recording in the next 48 hours. So which I'll get posted all over Facebook. So I am going to put a link in the chat as we get closer to the end of the call, and that's where you will enter yourself to win. Please, honor system, watch the whole thing to enter. So, okay, let's keep going. Just in case you're wondering, that is coming. That is coming. So, okay. Did I cut you off? Do you have more myths to bust, or you're good? Those are the top ones. Okay. So,
I would like to, throw some myths or some questions out in the chat.
Yeah, keep putting questions in the chat, guys. I've seen a couple come through that we'll get to in a minute. So, okay, just the starting, that seems to be key. Just starting somewhere. What's the return on just making that commitment to start? What's the return on that?
All right, let's go to that day when you realize, man, I've been doing this for 2 months now, or 3 months, or 4 months. There's not a body system we have that isn't going to be positively impacted by physical movement and exercise. Your sleep, your cardio performance, your stress management, etc. My wife and I, we live up in the mountains, and there's been times when, oh man, it's maybe the snow and spitting snow, or it's chilly or something, and we've gone ahead and gone. And it's funny because when we get back and the weather's not been perfect, we look at each other and we'll say, man, I'm so glad we got out. There's not been a time when we've gotten out for a hike or done that when we've come back and we've said, yeah, this is good. So what's the return? The return is better performing, cardio system, better sleep, maybe some weight management, which goes hand in hand with the MetaPWR. Blood sugars, which again, our American diet and our factory foods, or as my wife says, Frankenstein foods. We just go from a roller coaster, and I love that picture, in the MetaPWR series about the roller coaster, and I love that leveling out, and that's going to be a tremendous help with blood sugars, whether somebody's struggling with that or not, or headed to that. We've all been given a set of genes, our DNA, but that doesn't determine the end result. If we have some DNA that we have to deal with, if we have some issues, health that we have to deal with, that doesn't determine the end result. And I just want to encourage you to tackle those. And if you need physician approval before you launch into an exercise, I'm fully supportive of going and getting some approval. Otherwise, a real low entry, real easy entry, a real starting with just a walking program, you should suffice with that.
Okay. So let's talk about that. The winter is coming. And you kind of alluded to that. Any tips for those of us who, I know you've got the snow and the cold, which I used to live in. Now I'm in Oregon. I've got the rain and the dark that's coming. And, it can get a little harder when you're talking about outdoor. Any tips, any mindset tips or anything for?
Oh yeah, and boy, you nailed it. Man, all of a sudden the sun's starting to go down earlier in the evening. It's coming up later in the morning, and for us, we have to deal with a lot of dark as far north as we live. My encouragement to you is, number one, start now. Start while it's still fall weather, and move that from motivation to consistency to habit. If you can get to habit before winter, the projection of you staying with something through winter is going to be much, much higher versus starting something. Now, again, indoor, outdoor, we probably all have to take advantage of indoor during winter, and weather's coming. Let's be real about it. I mean, I referenced the deep south and the heat and humidity, and now I can reference the north and northern Rockies whenever, you know, we're talking winter and wind, and it's not pleasant to be outside. So get a plan together, insert that plan into your schedule, build that consistency leading to a habit, and don't, if you have to flex, if you have to adjust, then do that. You're smart people, you can get creative. In fact, a lot of the runners I work with, you know, they'll come up with an issue and we'll need to flex and adjust, and I'll ask them, well, what could you do? What options do you have? And they get really creative. And so whether it's going to a local mall, or whether it's, you know, stairs versus elevator, whether it's parking out at the far end of the parking lot and enjoying a 2-minute walk to that front door of the retailer versus trying to spin and spin and spin circles in the parking lot to find the closest spot. It's these small lifestyle changes that are going to add up to big stuff. But again, get your habit down before winter gets here, and the likelihood of you busting through winter and getting to spring's much higher.
Good. And I would think, I'm just inserting my own thought here, that one of the thoughts that can kind of creep into people's heads to stall them out is, I don't have the money for a gym membership, or I don't have the money to buy fancy, expensive equipment to work out at home. You don't need fancy equipment. There's things you can do, like stairs, right? Like just creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a lot of equipment that's been purchased, placed in a bedroom with good intention, and all of a sudden we start hanging our clothes off of them because they're not in use. And so if you want to buy a stationary bike and that's going to get you into your habit, that's awesome. But like Tanya referenced, you know, a good pair of walking shoes, stairs, get creative. You want to take a gallon empty milk jug and fill it with water, that's 8 pounds. And so you can put some resistance training. TheraBands are very cheap, very inexpensive. I love TheraBands. In fact, my wife was using one last night. And so you can put together even your own home gym very inexpensively. If the gym membership, it's great, and you get there consistently and you're getting the results, and you have the instructions and the access to equipment that you really want, that is awesome. I know a few of you do. That's cool. But many of us don't. Many of us don't have a schedule that allows to get there, or many of us just don't have room and margin in our budget to afford that. So get creative with your home. There's a lot of YouTubes out there instructing people about what to create in a home. But I love stairs.
Good. That's good. So let's talk about this word, the buzzword we've been hearing, health span. So we know our MetaPWR is helping us with our health span, and maybe you can define health span for us and tell us how movement and exercise plays into increasing our health span versus.
Yeah, love that question. And here's what I would do is I would ask you a question. What is it you want to accomplish in your life? And usually when I ask that question, I pause, and someone will tell me often, well, after retirement, I want to go hiking with the grandkids, or I want to fly fish with my kids on the Colorado River, or I want to go climb, or I want to do this. You see, we all have these goals, we all have these dreams. And then I ask them this question is, how does good health fit into that? Because oftentimes we just assume that we're going to get there, or we just assume that we're going to have good health. And so it's those daily investments that we make to be able to get us there. And so the health span thing allows you and I to reap those results right now. And the graph that doTERRA is using with the MetaPWR, and Dr. Osgathorpe has really a great graph. And if you look to the far right of that graph, he's got a column, an orange column, and it has the compression of morbidity there. And what they're doing, what doTERRA is doing, is encouraging and challenging each of us to take that health span and basically expand it. and really live the life that we're hoping to and wanting to, and then compress any morbidity that we're going to experience into those last couple years of our life, instead of introducing morbidity in our 50s and 60s with disease states that should have been saved for those last 2 years of our life. And that sums up what we're dealing with as a nation, and what we're dealing with in all of our communities is that we've traded this automation, we've traded this sedentary lifestyle. And we don't even realize in most cases that we've done that, and we're sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting. Actually, I heard someone refer to sitting as the new secondhand smoke. And really what sitting does with all of our automation and our driving and things, it pulls us out of that physical activity that our ancestors used just to survive, whether it was chopping wood or hauling water and things like that. This is that we don't have to do that anymore. And so what it's done, fast forward to where we're at today, is that we're dealing with the issues that health issues that elongates that morbidity and really shortens our health span, as opposed to, just expanding that health span and allowing us to live the lives that we want to.
Okay. Crystal even typed into the chat, and I had the same thought. Thank you for explaining the graph, because the orange column was confusing a lot of us. So that makes so much sense now that we're compressing it into this small. Sorry, I don't have the visual up for you all, but we've got other resources out there. You can find it, but yes.
And let me add something there.
Yeah.
This idea of compression of morbidity, I spent 25, 30 years in worksite health promotion and wellness. I dealt mostly with large employers on their self-insured healthcare plans, identifying, migrating, and mitigating employee health risks. And so this compression of morbidity has its roots clear back, I think, in the 80s. Dr. Jim Fries from Stanford coined this term, and we've used it a lot in the health promotion and wellness world. And it's something I would invite you to use, is that a concept, that idea of taking a disease state and compressing it, versus our lifestyles are elongating that risk of morbidity, that disease state, into points now where, gee, I can't go hiking with my grandkids. Gee, I can't go golf, of 18 holes anymore because, and you can fill in the blank. And so I like to use that as a reference for people to understand the opportunity and the need to take advantage of the health opportunities they have right now to make those lifestyle decisions and incorporate lifestyle into today's schedule, not wait until I'm retired, not wait until later in life, push it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not, it's not just about, we hear a lot about doing the fishing and doing the golfing and doing the fun things with grandkids, but I think it's important to remember it can really even affect our being able to live independently, or even live in the community or the home or the place you even want to. How you see so many people having to move in with people, move to assistance, move across the country to be close to family so early because they need that assistance. So even just that it's highly motivating. So, okay, do you have a secret sauce, any kind of secret sauce for exercise?
I do. Here it is.
I thought you would.
All right, folks, there is no secret sauce. It's like Dr. O was saying in the modules, there's no silver bullet to Lone Ranger days. It does take some dedication, and it takes some want to, and that's where I would encourage you to really self-evaluate and use that 1 to 10 scale. Where am I at? Am I really interested in making lifestyle choices where I can be an example to others? I can be a role model for my spouse. I can be a role model for my kids. I can encourage my team members. I can encourage someone else. And again, not the concept of being a marathoner with 6-pack abs and think, no, let's blow that out of the water. But the secret sauce then comes back to you and your answer. And where are you going to place that as importance in your life? And what is it that you're willing to do to get there? Because honestly, most of the people that I've worked with on this subject, it's going to take change. Change isn't always easy. Sometimes it's easy, but sometimes it's not. Let me give you an example. When I was working in the industry, in the populations that we would work with, I broke them up into two sections. And this is the old Pareto law, the 80-20, 80% of the population and 20% of the population. Let's start with that 20% of the population. That 20% of the populations was two groups. One, what we call the walking well. These people are exercising, eating right, doing everything they can to live a healthy lifestyle. They really don't need you and I at this point in their life. The other part of that group is this group. I had my heart attack 6 years ago. I've lost 65 pounds. I'm walking 3 days a week. My blood pressure's under control. My blood sugars are under control, etc. So those two groups made up that 20%. The other 80% are somewhere from 18 years to probably 60, 65 years. And they are really thinking they're invincible, or they don't have time, or if I'm broke, I'll get fixed by my health insurance plan or my doctor or somebody else's responsibility to fix me. And usually it takes a pain point to get them to a place where, wow, you know what? If I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to attend my daughter's graduation or play with grandkids or go on that cruise with my spouse, etc. That's usually where people evolve to before they really go, okay, I'm in, I want to do this. So secret sauce, there really isn't one, but the answer lies in you and what you are going to deem as a value.
All right here, isn't it? Okay, so many on this call are in the business of helping people with their wellness, with their metabolic journey now that we have MetaPWR. Teach us a little bit about how we can respectfully maybe bring up someone's movement lifestyle to them if we're trying to introduce them to that or encourage them, or maybe they're on MetaPWR and they're still struggling with some things and we're thinking to ourselves, I wonder if that movement piece is missing. How would you go about, because you can do it in a way that's very offensive to people. Can you give us any tips on how we can open up a conversation about movement with someone?
Yeah, a great question. And I love this. And I would ask a question, and it's, just how pleased are you with your physical activity? Don't use the E word. The E word could invite in a whole lot of, I don't exercise, or I hate exercise. I didn't look good in sweats in high school PE. I'm sure not going to put on sweats and go out in public now. So I would just ask the question is, how pleased are you with your physical activity? And again, this is going to come at a point not initially in a MetaPWR, a doTERRA wellness, a doTERRA lifestyle conversation. It's probably going to be a few minutes into your conversation, and they're going to, give you a number. And once they give you that number, there's going to be some room then to invite them. Meaning, well, what would it take to move that up to? What would it take to move it up one? What would it take to to move you from where you're at now to where you want to go? And that's a nice intro. Or here's another one, depending again on the relationship of the person and your proximity to them. And I love this one, is that, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be going on my 30-minute walk at the park. Why don't you join me? Would you join me? And during that walk, I will guarantee you the conversations that'll come up during that walk are going to lead to conversations about lifestyle and their current choices with regards to their lifestyle. Again, it's not about you, it's about them. And so when you ask them those kind of questions, you're going to have opportunities to number one, to share, set a role model and set an example. Number two, you're going to have an opportunity to share your story. And once you do that, then you're going to have an opportunity then to invite them to adopt a wellness lifestyle using MetaPWR system. Because you're right, Tanya, we avoid questions around physical activity and exercise. We really do. It can be a sensitive subject, but it really doesn't, especially if it's tied back into your overall health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. That's really helpful. I put some of those questions and phrases in the chat. If you guys didn't have a chance to write them down, open up the chat. You can even do a quick screenshot. I love the question, how pleased are you with your physical activity? Because you're asking that from them for their opinion. You haven't inserted your own perspective or opinion or judgment on, you're just asking them how they feel. I love that. So, how can we encourage each other? Or how can we encourage our customers, or just that pursuit of a MetaPWR lifestyle? What are some of the most encouraging things we can do to support each other in our, community matters, right?
Well, I love the metabolic makeover Facebook group that you've started, and I'm geeking out over some of the progress and testimonials and case studies. I love that. Those are so valuable. So I would strongly encourage people, if you're not part of that, man, jump in and get into that and learn. I would encourage you to share the module that doTERRA has, the learning modules. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't remember how many there are. I'm about 3/4 of the way through, but they're 2, 3, 4, 5-minute learning modules, and to encourage one another to complete that, and even offer that up to somebody just as a training where they can train on their own. But again, let me repeat myself, set an example, share your story, invite. And especially with the lifestyle choices, whether your family is with you or not, whether your spouse is with you or not, you have a choice and you have a decision to make. So that's a big way to encourage, and then get an accountability partner for your own story. Whether, again, it's that buddy you can meet every morning at 6 or every afternoon at 3 to go on that walk, that power hike, whatever, or even if it's a virtual connection where you can just check in once a week.
Yeah, that's really great. Love accountability. So, okay, I think we should probably make some time for some questions here. And again, those modules he's referencing, I did put the link to that. It's hosted on Teachable. It's free. It's a fantastic resource doTERRA has given us. You don't have to have an account with doTERRA. Anybody could just log in and use it, I believe. So it's a great educational story. Okay, so I'm going to check the chat for questions, but if anyone has a question, they're willing to just hop on their mic and ask, go ahead and unmute yourself. I'm actually going to go to our gallery view here, so hopefully we can maybe even catch who's talking. I did hear a question about strength training, if there's any kind of protocol for how often per week to do strength resistance.
Yeah, fine question. We'd like to shoot for at least twice a week. I know there's a lot of people that bump that up to 3 times a week once they reach a certain level, and that is fine. For the general population, though, twice a week is probably sufficient. Again, when we talk strength, we talk resistance training. It can come in so many different forms. I love even body weight, your own body weight, whether it is doing some squats, some half squats, some wall sits, even just using your own body weight can be very, very beneficial. But again, start slow, start with a low number of reps, start with low weights, and just work your way up. Again, remember, we tear down, we build up, we tear down, we build up. And I will guarantee you, over the course of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you're going to see an increase in your body's ability. It's adapted already to add more weight, more reps, more activities. So again,
yeah, it's going slow is fine. You don't want to hurt yourself. I've made that mistake before. Yeah, it's not worth it. Okay, let's open it up. Does anybody have any questions they want to hop on and ask, or any clarification on things he went over? Okay, we have Diana. Go for it.
Regarding the 20-30 minutes, do they have to be like continuous, or could it be like 10 minutes after every meal, or like 20 minutes in the morning and then 10 minutes in the evening? Or do I have to do like the 30 chunk of exercise?
Great question. Actually, there was some very encouraging research that was released maybe about 10 years ago about the benefits of breaking it up. And so here's what I would encourage you to think about, Diana, is that if you can grab that whole 30-minute chunk, awesome, do it. But if you grab two 15-minute chunks, that's great. And at the end of the day, you're going to have 30 minutes of physical activity, aerobic activity that is on your schedule versus not doing it. So I'm a big fan of if in your schedule it works and you've got to break that up, then do it. And again, like Tanya referenced in her own case study, if it helps you moderate or flatline your blood sugars by that physical activity of 10, 15 minutes, then by all means do it.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, before we take our next question, I am going to tell you the entry link so you can enter to win the fantastic offer that Kirk is offering 90 days of assistance to someone in their own movement plan. I'm putting it in the chat right now, and I will read it to you in case you missed it in the chat. It's a bit.ly link. So you're going to type bit.ly/90 days with Kirk. And that's all lowercase, and it is case sensitive. So again, bit.ly, meaning bit.ly/90 days with Kirk. It's a simple entry form and your info won't be shared anywhere, but I'm going to help Kirk just draw a winner, and one lucky person's going to have some amazing accountability and help and mindset coaching and all that. So, okay. More questions. And if you don't want to come on mic, you can pop them in the chat too. No questions. I like to wait a little bit in case someone's just feeling nervous or shy, but if
Hey,
we
Tanya,
don't,
I just want to say to our viewers today, when you think of exercise, what comes to mind? What picture is in your brain and going across your brain waves when you think about exercising? And if there's some negative thoughts around that picture that comes across your brain, I'm going to encourage you to replace those. And replace those with you seeing yourself in motion, not comparing to somebody who just won the local 5K or who has those six-pack abs that they love to show off at the beach the other day. We can fall into that trap, and it is a bottomless pit. Because it does nothing but discourage each of us from getting out there and getting moving. And so I'm going to encourage you to practice that mindset shift of picturing yourself in motion, picturing yourself a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, when you aren't doing just one lap around the local park, but now you're up to 4, and then you're up to 5, and now you've asked a neighbor to go with you, and he or she's, are also walking with you. Replace the temptation of those negative mindsets to positive pictures, imagery, etc., with your movement and with your lifestyle plan.
That's great. And I can imagine past history, or maybe you had that like belittling coach when you were young or something like that, that can just make you feel like a loser, or picturing a type, and I don't fit the type. You picture the gym rats, or you picture the athletes, or the people that dress a certain way. And if you don't fit the type, you feel like you're not athletic. That could be, a mindset hindrance for sure. Another thing I will just say is so many, let's just say within our own business, those of us who are in doTERRA as a business and we want to help other people, we can get hung up on, well, when I look better, when I'm skinnier, when I lose weight, then I have credibility, people will listen to me. And I would imagine that's a myth too, because we're all on a journey, right? And nobody knows where we've come from. And it isn't always, the evidence isn't always in having like rock hard abs or something like that.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because in your doTERRA journey and in your MetaPWR journey, it's your story. I will guarantee you somebody needs to hear your story. Somebody is going to be encouraged by your story. Somebody is going to see themselves in you, and your success needs to be shared. Remember what we learned in convention, our brains are wired for what? Safety and comfort. Stepping out your front door to get some exercise could be unsafe, and it could be slightly discomforting, but the end results are worth it, and it will help you. It'll help your story, and that's a guarantee. And if that doesn't happen, you see me for a full refund. How's that?
And I don't think we have to have success before we share our story, right? Just like with
No.
anything, you know, I say this with business, you don't have to have already achieved a certain level of income or business rank to say, hey, join me. You can invite people to join you and say, this is what I'm going to do. Want to do it with me? With movement, I mean, people really join up with people that they believe are going somewhere, not that have already gone. You know what I mean? So it's okay to encourage and invite people along the journey with you, even at the starting line.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. It's not like you have to be at the finish line standing there waiting for people to join you. Even like Tanya said, invite them now. Is a, hey, I'm starting this new walking program. You know, would you join me?
It's sometimes way more appealing to join someone who's a beginner with you, or who you don't feel like is already victorious in something.
Right.
Don Wood said, this info has been fabulous. Thank you, Kirk. I think people can relate better to us when we haven't arrived yet. They need to see we are a works in progress. That is so true.
So true.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up, because we're 2 minutes from an hour and we filled it up with so much. I mean, you filled it up with so much information. Thank you so much, Kirk. This has just been a pleasure. And I will get this recording uploaded soon. I will be posting it on the Facebook groups, and it's going to, that link should stay live. So this is something you can continue to share with people as you open up those conversations, or go watch it again for yourself. Watch it, listen to the motivation when you are feeling low on that cold, dark days. That would be a good tool to have.
Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate you having me on.
Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. Goodbye.